Well, this is Baruch Fleischman. I'm here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, and I'm going to try to say another shir here on this third day of the week of Parshas Terumah. And I thought what I'd do here is because this Zohar is going to be concerned about a particular pasuk, I thought I'd show it to you in the art scroll, which I'm not always happy with what the art scroll translates because they have a point of view which doesn't include sod. Nonetheless, it's good translations usually. So the pasuk is this one. Mi zois ha-nishkafa, kamo shachar, yafa kolovonon, barakachama, ayuma, keniggalos. Slushing degel, or flag. Now let's see what he says over here is the translation. It's going to be, let me get this tuned in here a little bit better. Let me bring it down a little bit more. And we're on number 10. Who is this that gazes down from the top of the Temple Mount, brightening like the dawn, beautiful as the moon, brilliant as the sun, awesome as the bannered hosts of kings? So this is our lesson that we want to really understand the Hebrew words and the translation of them and the idea that the Rav wants to give us. Now what we're going to do, as we've been doing, is that we're going to come over here. I'm going to read just the top, which is just this Zohar right here. And then there's going to be a little drawing here. I'm trying to do better. I have a real ruler in front of me now. Not that it's going to help all that much. But let's try to understand what the Zohar says. And Hanishkafa, so that we saw is the word who gazes out. Kad mischavrin tarvaichu kachada, when the two female elements become one. Kamo shachar, like in the morning. That's what happens when we go to the morning prayer. Kadbaya shachrusa la'anhara, at the time when the morning light wants to start to shine. Ulabasa is nehira kasihura, but then after that time, when it does shine, then it shines like the moon. Kad batash ba nehira deshimsha, and when is that? The moon shines when the light of the sun is shining on it. Ulabasa kashimsha, and then afterwards it becomes really mamish like the sun itself. Kad kaimer sichrucha beshlimo. This is a situation in which the moon, which normally the moon, we understand, is a metaphor for Malchus, the female aspect, whereas the sun is a metaphor for Zer Anpin, the male aspect. So he said, V'sichrucha beshlimo, the moon, Malchus in a state of perfection. Now, I wanted to take a moment. Let me come over here to my beautiful drawing pad and try this time with a ruler, so it's not quite as embarrassing to me as it was previously. So let's say like this, that this is Zer Anpin. Come on, draw. Zer Anpin. And we'll say he is a tube of light. So what we know about Zer Anpin is that he is a male force, and the male force moves from the top to the bottom. They're just little side exercises like this, top to the bottom. This is the way his light moves. Now, we had said yesterday, and we made a nice drawing where we said that we could also divide him in other different ways. Well, so one way would be he would be divided into a right line, which is a line of chesed. Another way to a left line would be the line of gevurah. And then the middle line, which wants to be cheating over to the right and to pull the left to the right, trying to bring it into oneness. That's an idea. At the same time, although what we want to talk about today is about the concept of the nukva of Zer Anpin. So we could divide Zer Anpin into a resh, a rosh, a head part, which we're going to call Chabad. And we could divide him into a body part, which can be discussed, and many different things, which we're going to call the arms in the body, which are called Chagat, Chesed, Gevurah, and Tiferes. And then the bottom part, which is going to be called Nai, Netzach, Hod, Yesod. Okay, now we did all of that, right? Now the thing is about the Nukva Dezah, when Zera Anpin is born out of the womb of Ima, he has with him what they call the Kabbalists call a Pasil Labar. There's like a little foot that sticks out from him. This at this point is born along with him. It's a part of him, and this is actually going to develop into Malchus. When we get a real good look at it, as if we were flying an object through space and we got a chance to look at Jupiter or some kind of incredible light, that's what we're going to be able to see in the Shir in the morning, because we're going to get a view of Malchus. So over here, Malchus is divided into two parts. There's a top part, and we're going to call this bottom here, oops, as best I can draw it. This is the karka of Atzilus. Okay, this is the bottom of Atzilus. After this, relative to the way that we are speaking and teaching, this would be the bottom of Olam of Atzilus. Okay, so that's where the Nai is located, and the Malchus is at the bottom. Here's Malchus, some over here. Well, actually, Malchus is on the side in this drawing of Zer Anpin. And here she is. Let me just show her to you. She actually has two parts, and that's the really important part here in this lesson. It's because here, this part here is called Rachel, and this is called the chest of Zer Anpin. Rachel begins for the chest of Zer Anpin and spreads all the way down his backside. And once again, we have the concept here. This is the front, which is to the right, and this is the back, which is to the left. Okay, so maybe that's the wrong letter. We'll use an English letter. So front, Zer Anpin, facing forward. The back of Zer Anpin is where we find the nook, and then there's another nook. And this is our Torah for today. There's another nook whose name is Leah. And she's located here. I'll just put a lamed here for Leah. So this is a lineup which could be studied. It is useful everywhere. So we're trying to understand, we have a front, we have a back, we have a right, we have a left, we have a center, we have a Chabad Chagat Nai, we have a Malchus, and then we understand that we have a Karka of Atzilus. So the basic idea that we're going to see in this Zohar is that these two, Leah and Rachel, are sisters, and they're both the wives of Yaakov Avinu, who is going to make himself into Yisroel by bringing in Mochim from up above him, from a more penimistic place, bringing that heightened consciousness of Hashem into himself. So we want to talk about a time when Leah will combine with Rachel. And then there's another time when Rachel will combine with Leah and make themselves into one female aspect. Now, the simplest way to understand this, and we're going to read a little bit more, and I'll try to get into it, and maybe we'll do it more than once, is that at nighttime, after Chatzos, Rachel goes into the lower worlds. Now, there are details to that. It's not all of Rachel, and there may be machlektim about exactly which part. We're trying to get a best view that we possibly can. But at nighttime, Rachel falls down, and as a result of that, Leah fills the gap. And so, therefore, she comes all the way through. And now she, only Leah, because Rachel, as if it was possible to say, either is gone or else she is no longer complete. And Leah now fills that place and is able to make a yichud with Yaakov Avinu. This is that time. And these are all symbolic words but they're very powerful because they're actually going on. So here we talk about the combinations, and let's look at the Zohar and let's see what we can learn from the Zohar now. Once again, well, I could bring it back again, but anyone who sees this on video will, of course, be able to look at it again, and we're going to go over drawings like this lots of times. So let's see what the Zohar says, what the Matuk Medivash helps us out with this. And Masha Kasev Mi Zois. Now we had yesterday the concept that you had a Zos and you had a Mi. So we wanted to know who was Mi and who was Zos. So we had Mi Zois HaNishkafa. So it's Me and the Zois, they're looking out. Hainu Kad Mischabren Tarvaihu Gachada. And here we're talking about the time. When do the two of them, that is Me and Zois, look out? It's when they're joined together as one. When the both of them are joined together like one. Oz, then what that means is me Zois, that me, which we said before, refers to Bina or Ima. The Zois, Niras kaparts of Echod, and Zois, which refers to Malchus, they appear to be one part of. And it means that Bina is flowing directly into Malchus. V'hainu achar chatzos laila, be'ez hayichud the Yaakov and Leah. It's a time that the yichud takes place between Yaakov and Leah. B'kol orech kumas zer anpin, and it takes place through the whole length of zer anpin, not just a part, because I think we had mentioned in our drawing, if you want me to say this, is that Rachel is located from the chest of Zer Anpin downwards, and the normal yichud that takes place during the weekday is between a smaller Zer Anpin, which would be called the Zah Katana or the Zuna Katana. So the Katanim. So this is a smaller yichud that takes place. But at nighttime, Rachel leaves. Leah takes over, but she takes over the entire place from where she began, which is up at the level of Bina, all the way down to the Karka of Etzilus. Let's go on again. Vaz Rachel no senes to Leah. Then what happens is that Rachel gives to Leah B'Shaila as a loan, Kol HaKelim Shalah, all of her vessels, because her teich, her inside, has gone, as we said before, into Bia, into the lower worlds of Bria, Yitzira, and Asiya. Kamo Shachar, like in the morning, he says, Kad boy b'shachrusa l'anhara. So as the morning light wants to shine, because the yichud that takes place in the last half, in other words, from midnight onwards, it lasts the whole time. And it continues through the entire second half of the night, shalalayla ad or haboker, until the morning light comes. And then when the shachar begins to shine, there's still, in the case where that Rachel and Leah are combined into one element, Leah spreading all throughout the Kalim of Rachel. And that, so therefore they're together. As time moves on, the tikunim that come in the morning, Ayudei calls Seder Tefillah, Beberchas HaShachar ad Shemegiyim the Tehillos the Hekel Elyon Goalam. Let me just, it was a long sentence. V'achar called the tikunim ana'aseh b'boiker. So all of the tikunim that we do in the morning, what are those? Called Seder HaTefillah. So all the Seder Tefillah, Birchas HaShachar, from the time we said the Birchas, the earliest Birchas in the morning, Shemegia, the Tehillah, the Keil Elyon, Goalam, until we reach that stage in the Shemona Esrei. Shahad Sarach, L'klum, L'kava, the Aros, HaYisod, Shal Abba, Ve'imba, B'zer Anpin. Now this is a whole idea by itself. We may take it on again. Because at this time, when you get to this area, you have to stand up. And why do you have to stand up? Because now you have the Yisodos of Abba Ve'ima and Zer Anpin all pouring into Malchus. And the Yisodos means the bottom end of them, as we understand what Yisod is. Yisod is the hose. It's the hydrant. So now the illumination, the radiance that's coming from the Yesod of Abba Ve'ima into Zer Anpin. And then as a result of Zer Anpin, the light is in fact limited down through Zer Anpin. And now it's passed into Malchus. And this causes the moon to shine. So now we see that the moon is shining, that is the moon who is Rachel. That is the glows, the radiances that come from these Yesodis of Abba Ve'im and Zer Anpin. The Yordos and Me'iros Ba, they come down, and now they are shining inside of Malchus. Kashihi Behechel Aratzon, that is, where is Malchus? Well, Malchus is still in the early part of the morning when Leah has occupied her kalim, that is the area on the back of Zer Anpin, as we showed you in the previous drawing. Kashihi Behechel Aratzon Debria. Behechel Aratzon Debria is a very high level in Olam Abriya, but it's not in Netzilus. She's below. And let me just show you again, drawing-wise, that she's down here. This is the Karka of Netzilus. She's down here. She's in this place called the Heichel Aratzon, and she's trying to get up back into Netzilus to meet the day. And so this is the process that we have going on. It's a tremendous, tremendous secret. The Bria of Gorem is la. And then it causes a result of that. Now she's coming back. She's coming back into a position where the light is very, very strong on her, and she is growing. And she's able to come around now and face their Anpin face to face. This is Rachel Imein. She's now in Yaakov and Misyachadimo, and now she makes a yichud with him. So you had a situation goes like this. Rachel goes down to the lower world. Leah fills up that space, and she is in a oneness with Yaakov Avinu all night long from midnight going to dawn. At dawn, she is still occupying that place as the light begins to shine tremendously under the position of Rachel, who is still down below in the lower worlds trying to resurrect the sparks of Kedusha that are lost down there. So now she's coming back because the light begins to shine onto her because the morning is breaking. And this is why it says it's beautiful like the moon. That is, Malchus is the moon, the Malchus of Etzilus. So when we say that phrase, Tiftach Olim the Heichel Kodesh Kadasha Debria, she goes up even a higher level, not the Heichel of Ratzon, that is the palace of Ratzon, which is will, desire, so on and so forth. She goes actually into the Heichel of Kodesh Kadashim of Bria. She's in the highest, she's in the tip of the top of Bria. Behind Ukad Batash Ba Nehirach of the Shimsha. So we see that when it strikes her now, the rays of the sun, and now it strikes her, and now it's shining on her. Who's their anpin? The sun is their anpin. This is the same way as describing this yichud should be yisodo. Because he wants to say that in the yisod of Zer Anpin. Now that is another subject that needs to be discussed of how they are in the yisod of Zer Anpin. Very simple is that the yisod of Ima stops at the chest of Zer Anpin, but the contents, which are the chasadim and the gevuros, flow into his yisod. Whereas the yisod of Abba breaks through the position of Ima at the chest of Zer Anpin and goes all the way into the yisod of Zer Anpin, where it is open. And this tremendous power that breaks through into the Kachim of Olam Habriya, it breaks through, comes into that place, and pulls them into into Atzilus. And what is this? When Rachel stands in her completeness, Ba'olam Atzilus, in the world of Atzilus, V'az he bara kachachma. Then you see that she shines. And that time where we said before there were two different chachmas, there's a big chachma and a little one. She shines with all of what pours into her from Abba Ve'ima and from Zer Anpin with the light of the Ein Sof Baruch Hu. And this is Baruch Fleischman speaking for the Tikkun Elevator Kollel. It's a very interesting shir, I thought, for those of you who are on the higher level. be able to understand it or get some pleasure from this. Kol Tuv.